They gave it a 4 out of 5. This is Alex Sandel from Juicy Christ.
Christ wrote a review?
That's when you know you made it.
On this episode of the MacGuffin Guild, we're going to head to the year 2092 and witness the lives of two wounded, sworn enemies as they are forced to forgive and to trust an enemy mine. This 1985 action-adventure drama was based on a novella by Barry Longyear and was directed by Wolfgang Peterson, starring Dennis Quaid, Louis Gossett Jr., Brion James, and Bumper Robinson as Zammis. We're going to talk about the studio issues that led to the hiring of Wolfgang Peterson, Louis Gossett Jr.'s phenomenal performance, combined with the amazing makeup effects of Chris Wallace, Risqué Movie Reviews, and the dangers of quicksand. We'll discuss Louis Gossett's animal inspirations, underlying social issues, G.I. Joe and the Dennis Quaid connection, and how Stevie Wonder is tied into this whole mess. We'll get into the trauma of 80s kid entertainment, Justin's hype man, teeth caulk, and a MacGuffin First, The Betrayal. I'm Pat Doherty, and as always, I'll be joined by my fellow MacGuffins, Justin Jones and Mike Antonio. Our theme song was written and performed by Jordan Vincent. Now cry Ankel and hang on, as we have teasers aplenty in Enemy Mine.
I raised you better than this.
Welcome to another episode of the MacGuffin Guild. I'm Pat Doherty, and as always, I am here with the MacGuffins. First, Mr. Justin Jones. Justin, how is it today?
Popping.
Popping. How has your holidays been? Good?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. I was this week was I was off for 2 weeks. This was my first week back to work, so and it was only like a 3-day week, but it was still like awful trying to adjust after 2 weeks off. Yeah. So the funny thing is, I usually take a 1 week vacation. It's nice, but once you get into like the second week of a vacation, you start realizing what life could be like.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're like, wow, this is what life could be like. So, yeah. So going back to work Monday was a little extra punch in the ribs. But
that's a shame.
Yeah,
well, at least you had a nice vacation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, also with us, Mr. Mike Antonio. Mike, how are you?
Yo. Pretty good. How's it going, Pat?
It's going. Doing well. How was your holiday? All right.
Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, my holidays are usually pretty laid back, besides work. But at home, my holidays are laid back. Mm-hmm. Work is a nightmare.
Yeah, well, you're a nightmare. So,
agreed.
Today's film is Enemy Mine, which is 1985, PG-13, 1 hour, 48 minutes long. This film was my selection, so I'm pretty excited to talk about this one. It was directed by Wolfgang Peterson, and he is responsible for Das Boot, Outbreak, Air Force One. He did what's it called? Never-Ending Story. Jesus.
Did he?
Which still hasn't ended, from what I've heard.
He did do Never-Ending Story, which makes sense for several reasons, which we'll talk about.
Yes. Yeah, he actually did Never-Ending Story immediately before this film, and there's a little something there to talk about.
You're going to have to fill me in on
the
that.
The production of this film, Enemy Mine, and what led to him directing.
Oh, I did read that.
Pretty interesting little situation.
And
but
if
anyway,
you want to know what it is, you got to stick around and listen.
That's right. That's
end.
what they call that? They call that a world-class teaser. That's what we just did there, guys.
Yeah.
We'll tell you more about it after the commercial break.
Yeah.
So, Wolfgang Peterson directed, and it stars... I almost read the wrong line. I almost read stars Barry Longyear.
He's the guy that wrote the novella.
Yeah, exactly. So
this was my favorite acting role of his.
No, it stars Dennis Quaid, Louis Gossett Jr., and Brion James, who, whether you know it or not,
you know who Brion James is.
Yes,
if you've seen Blade Runner, you know who he is. He's the first replicant that's being tested that blows the.
And he's pretty much he's the ultimate like shisty henchman.
Yeah.
Like no matter what role he plays, I guarantee there's always an element of some kind of like skeeviness.
Yeah, he's always a heavy. He's always a bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's Brion James? Did you ever see a turtle? Same thing.
What?
Sorry, that was Blade Runner. That's when they're giving the thing. He gives him the test,
tortoise.
and he's like,
yeah, he's like, what's a tortoise?
Yeah, he's like,
you ever,
yeah,
you know
what's
what a
a tortoise? You ever see
turtle
a
is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Same.
Yeah, okay. God, I'm
got
slow. I'm slow.
No, that was a bad delivery on my part.
Dennis Quaid, I always like to say Dennis Quaid, like from Total Recall. My name is Quaid.
Yeah, this is the first film we've done on the show with Dennis Quaid in it, isn't it? I don't think we've had him yet.
I don't recall, but to my knowledge, yeah.
I love me some Dennis Quaid.
Oh, yeah, he's amazing.
Also, the first one with Louis Gossett Jr.
Oh, yeah, Louis Gossett Jr. as well.
Who, by the way, I just want to say, like, he stands out.
He stands so tall.
He stands out. His performance in this movie is, like, amazing. I love him in this movie.
Yeah.
Sarah mentioned something like at one point I remember she was like, she's like, nothing against Dennis Quaid, but Louis Gossett Jr. is just like owning this movie right now.
I can't take my eyes off of him in this movie.
And Dennis Quaid was great in this too.
Yeah,
so it's not even like he was
He's
just sitting there like a scenery or something.
Their banter back and forth in this movie is top notch. But anyway,
it was good. So all right, let's get to the ratings.
Well, yeah, let's get to the ratings. Well, listen, hold on. You mentioned Louis Gossett Jr. and his performance, which I agree is top notch. And in fact, like all of the vocal creations that he did, which I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there was very little, if any at all, post-production involved in that. That was him with the gurgling.
Oh, you could tell it's him doing it, yeah.
Yeah. The creation of this language, a lot of this language, he was kind of making up on the fly.
I noticed some of the other actors who were playing, what are they called? Their, what's their race called? Drac, yeah. They could not do it nearly as well as he was. Mm-hmm. And the kid, the kid had a little bit of an effect on his voice. Mm-hmm. But later on with the ones that were like imprisoned and doing slave labor and they were talking and stuff, it's like they sound so subpar compared to what Louis Gossett was doing. And
they were like, "Oh, we know you, your uncle."
Yeah. Hey, ain't you that guy named Uncle?
Yeah. Hey Gary, come over here and check this out. Is this Uncle or is this Uncle?
It's Uncle.
Yeah, Greg, that's Uncle.
Hey, that's Uncle over there.
I'm not really good at impersonations, but I think you'll get the point.
That's what
I'm
they
not saying
sound.
I nailed it.
That's what they sound like compared to Louis Gossett Jr.'s performance.
Pretty much. But what I will say, the point I was making is not only is his performance top notch in all aspects, but the makeup effects.
Yeah.
By
Chris Wallace.
Yeah, Wallace is how it's spelled.
Yeah, I think
Chris
it's Wallace, like Wallace or Wallace.
Yeah.
Wallace.
Who's also done. You guys know what else he's done? You want to take any guesses?
Gremlins?
Yeah, Gremlins.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I didn't look it up, and I was curious because when we watched it, a friend of mine, we just were getting ready to start, and my friend sent me a text. He's like, "Hey, me and my girlfriend are trying to think of something to watch. We've been watching all kinds of stuff. What do you suggest?" I'm like, "We're actually just getting ready to watch Enemy Mine." He's like, "Oh, cool. I haven't seen that." I think he said he hasn't seen it. And then he sent me a text message, and he said the alien reminds him of the alien from Last Starfighter.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if it might have been similar. I didn't know if it was a similar FX company or something, but it's been years since I'd seen that. It reminded me, which I have to look up again before I say anything, but in my mind, it reminded me of a much better version of the alien from TerrorVision.
Yeah, the guy that comes down after the creature. Like the bounty hunter guy or whatever he is, the prison guard.
Yeah, they look much different now I'm looking at it. But in my mind, I guess,
I can see what you're saying, though. The makeup effects or the makeup design is
top notch, dude.
Great.
Just insane. Yep. And so some of the other stuff he's done, Piranha, he's done special effects in Airplane, which I'm not sure exactly what he did in that film. Dragon Slayer.
Oh, man. That movie
was that Dennis Quaid?
That's
the last drag. What was
that?
I am the last one.
Dragonheart.
I am the last one.
Yeah.
Dragonheart. Yeah.
but you'll never take our dragons. Dragonheart, right?
Yeah, that's it.
We named the dog Dennis Quaid. Is that from that movie too? I don't remember. I haven't seen it in a while. I can't remember. Did they? I don't know.
No, I think that sounds right. I can picture that scene.
Okay.
So yeah, Dragon Slayer. He also was involved in Return of the Jedi.
Real quick, Dragon Slayer.
Oh yes.
When you're talking about the special effects in that, we watched that. I love that movie, by the way, and we watched it a couple years ago. And I remember, and that movie's from what, 1980, I think.
Dragon Slayer. I've never seen that.
But I remember watching that, and I was like, "This is incredible." It still to this day looks amazing, and it's like 40 years old.
Yeah. Return of the Jedi, Gremlins, Enemy Mine, The Fly, House 2,
shit, The Fly,
The Fly 2, Arachnophobia, Hot Shots. Yeah. So I mean, he's got a good amount of stuff under his belt. But yeah, look, man. There is no getting around it. The makeup effects are so good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They definitely are.
So knowing how good they are now in the final film, later on when we talk about the early production issues that this film had in the beginning, it makes them that much better knowing what it could have been.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I know that the original director got fired, but I don't know anything about why.
We'll get into what happened there.
Nice. More teasers. We're getting really good at this teaser
I know.
thing.
How about this?
And now a word from our sponsors.
Yeah.
we graduated from before. We're like, oh, we'll circle back to that and then never get back to it. To actually like putting like real teasers
that was
in.
kind of our MO.
Real teasers, which we will never get back to.
Yeah, I should write these things down so we actually do come back to them.
Yeah, no, I got them on my notes here.
Oh, cool, good.
The point was, we were talking about Louis Gossett Jr., and I there's no way you can mention him in this film without giving a shout out to Chris Wallace and the whole crew. There was some other makeup department folk, Brion Wade, Chris Taylor, Daniel Parker. They were all involved, but I believe Chris Wallace was kind of the head of the operation.
Yeah. If you didn't know that was Louis Gossett Jr., you would not know that was Louis Gossett Jr.
For the longest time, I didn't know.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I didn't know. I remember being in my... Because this film came out when I was 5, and I definitely saw it in my early youth, but I don't think I was into my 20s. Well, I was probably into my early 20s when I found out it was Louis Gossett Jr., and it blew my mind.
I saw this movie when I was pretty young, too. I don't think I was super duper young, but probably, maybe around 10 or 12 range the first time I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's especially since he did, when you think of his character, he played an officer and a gentleman.
Oh, sure.
And then you go into this, it's like night and day. It's hard to believe it's the same person. And the thing one of my earliest memories I know Lou Gossett Jr. from is my mom and I were obsessed when I was a child with the movie Iron Eagle.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
And there are like 4 of those?
I think so. I don't know. But the first one, I don't know what it was. My mom and I remember watched that movie like countless times, which I think came out the year after this. 86, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it was, but we just loved the hell out of that movie. And that was around the same time my mom used to rent out... after my parents split, my mom used to get like big farmhouses and rent rooms out. And a guy that was living with us at the time, we were obsessed with it. And he's like, "Oh, you guys like action movies? Did you ever see this movie called Terminator?" And he introduced so this all led me to Terminator. I remember watching Terminator. And I must have been it was 86. I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Damn.
And I saw the Terminator, and I was like, "Holy crap!" But the funny thing is when we watched the Terminator, my dad was coming to pick me up because I guess it was his weekend, and I'm sitting there trying to finish the movie, like waiting for him to show up, and he showed up like right around the time when they stick the pipe. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen Terminator, but when they stick the pipe bomb in the back of the truck and then they jump in the trash can, the truck explodes.
Right?
Do you remember that?
Yes.
And then that's when all his skin melts off and he comes out as the metal thing. Well, I got up when the truck exploded, thinking that was the end of the movie. Because I had to go see my dad, and I'm telling him, I'm all excited, and I'm telling him about the movie. And he's like, yeah, and at the end of the movie, they put a pipe bomb in, the truck blows up, and they get him. And he's like, that's cool. And I remember, like, the next time I watched it, I actually watched the whole thing, and I was like, holy shit, that's not the end? And then there was that whole thing, and the robot shit, like, so it was like multi-tiered, mind-blowing
No one said anything
action.
to you when you walked out of the room? Or did you watch it on your own?
I think it was probably just me or me and my mom or something, and I just had to, and she didn't see it before,
But where
so
did
we're
you
just
go?
watching it.
How did you, like... do you think the scene would have continued by the how small was the room you were in that you were able to walk out of the room before the film continued?
Well, I think I was already had my bags and stuff packed because I was rushing. I was hoping the movie would finish before he would show up. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting and waiting, and then as soon as I see the truck blow up, I'm like, all right, and I grab my stuff and ran out. I'm like, that's got to be the end. I didn't wait for the credits.
All right,
I'm 8 years old. I ain't waiting for credits. That's before they had.
You got time for that?
Before they. Yeah, it's not like what's his name? Nick Fury's at the end, recruiting Brion Reese or something, like some other Reese family member.
Yeah, he brings in RoboCop to fight the Terminator.
So, yeah, it's Nick Fury with the T-1000. For those of you who don't know, that's the robot in the second one.
That's my line.
That's Mike's line. He's got it trademarked.
Yeah. Well, you're on to the fact that I just copy your score, your guess for your score, your rating. So now I have to switch it to stealing your lines.
You owe me royalties for saying that line.
Speaking of an officer and a gentleman, little known fact, they almost called this film An Officer and a Lizard Man.
Is that true or did you just make that up?
I just made that up. That's a Justinism. See, I'm going to steal Justin's moves now.
There you go.
Man, this is weird. This is like this weird osmosis thing. We're changing into each other.
We're morphing into each other's personalities.
Yeah.
Let's do this then. So, because I want to dig in. I got 3 pages of notes on this film.
Goddamn,
we better get into it.
Yeah, we're going to get into it.
If you're listening to this at home, listen to it at 1.5 speed to get through this one.
Exactly.
It's going to be a ripper.
So here's what I would like to do real quick. We'll go around the room, and I want to talk about what brought this film to the MacGuffin Guild, and then I want to hear your guys' experiences briefly with the film as well. So this film was brought up.
Wait, do you want to do the Rotten Tomatoes first?
Oh, yeah, I guess I got to do all that, don't I?
No, go do your thing. You're on a roll, and then we'll come back.
Well, let's do this, and then we'll get to Rotten Tomatoes.
We'll swing back around.
Yeah, so here, another teaser. Coming up in the show, Rotten Tomatoes. So anyway, real quick. So this film, and I don't have much to say in this phase here, but this film was inspired because of the last film we did. If you go back to our last episode, Robot Jocks.
I was going to say, which one was that?
When Justin brought Robot Jocks up, and it unlocked this Pandora's box in my mind that I haven't had opened in years. What I started to do was think about what other films I watched in that same phase, that same period of my life, and this was one of those films.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, well, I know what my next movie is going to be. It's going to be Enemy Mine. So
that's funny you should bring that up because I actually had a comparison that I was going to throw back to Robot Jocks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you brought that up. More on that later.
Jesus Christ. Is somebody keeping track of all these? So anyway, I love this film. I love this film.
It's a fantastic movie.
I'm going to get, I'm going to get really into this movie as we go because there's so much about this movie that I love. And this was one of this came out when I was 5, so I probably saw it maybe a year or 2 after it's released when it was on HBO. So I was maybe 7-ish in that range. This film, for a 7-year-old, or however old I was, I guess, between 7 and 10, somewhere in that range, for a young kid to see this film has so much heart.
Even as
a kid, I recognized that heart. And I loved it, and it stuck with me, and even to this day, it's always been there. In fact, I realized after all these years, every now and then, I'll say, Uncle, Uncle.
Oh, no shit.
That's where it comes from. Yeah, I'm always, I'll just, one of those things. I don't know, I'll just be in my kitchen.
Just like embedded in your brain?
Yeah, and I just shout it out. It's just one of those things. It's just in there. But, yeah, this film, I love it, and I can't wait to dig into it. So, real quick, before we get to Rotten Tomatoes, I want to hear what you two guys, what your history is with this film.
So, I remember, I don't even know, when we start watching, I'm like, oh, I saw this once, and we start watching, and like, none of this is familiar. I've never seen this before.
Oh, wow.
And then a few scenes did look familiar, so I can't tell you if I actually seen it before or not. However, I do remember when it came out, I was in elementary school, and there was a buzz about this. Like, I remember kids talking about this movie, and I was like, what the hell is this movie they're talking about? And of course, they jumped right to the child, and I was like, what? pregnant aliens. What the hell movies are you guys watching? Like, and I didn't see it till years later. Well, probably till 30-some years later to this day. Who knows? But I always knew about it, and I knew, obviously seen some scenes, and I knew the concept and what it was about, and I thought it was cool. But I watched it last night. I thought it was great. Not last night, a couple nights ago. I thought it was great. And another thing I really like about it is the set design on this. Has like a throwback feeling to me of like the 50s and the 60s, like sci-fi adventures. Like when you look at the ships and the way the space is, kind of reminding me a little bit of Mario Bava's Planet of the Vampires.
I have never seen that, even though I'm a Mario Bava fan. That's one of his that I've never ever checked out.
Well, that's going to go on the list.
Okay.
When? We don't know. So stay tuned. That's a teaser. So anyway, that's pretty much my history. I knew about it, and it's a sci-fi space science fiction. I think Louis Gossett Jr. and I think called it not science fiction. It was like I said something like science fact or something like that. Like this is something that he could see, like the progression of human evolution, and when we do reach out to other species, being a real type event that would happen.
Totally.
Which science fiction is that anyway?
I totally agree with that. Yeah. So Justin, you're not 100% sure if you've even seen it before, or you may have seen like pieces of it.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you for summarizing that, Mike. No.
Well, no, I was getting
That's my hype, man.
That was clarity for myself.
Yeah.
All right, no, I'm just messing with you. So,
yeah,
Mike,
I really like this movie. Yeah, he really likes this movie.
Well, I mean, that's what the best shows do. They have recaps after the commercial breaks.
Oh yeah. All right, so Mike, what's your history with this one?
I remember the first time I saw it. I don't remember. I know I saw it with my parents, and we were in a hotel. I'm thinking we were maybe at the beach or something. And of course, again, we've talked about this before, how I didn't have cable, so I'm assuming we were at a hotel that had cable and it was on. So that was the first time I saw it, and I think, if I remember correctly, my dad was really into this movie, like the two of us, because I was a kid, so I was like, oh, cool, this is crazy, And my dad, who is normally not into science fiction or horror or anything like that at all. He's not a big movie guy. Like, his favorite movie is Top Gun, which, good movie, but I wouldn't put that as my top movie. He's more into movies like that, kind of, I don't know. He just likes it for the jets. He's like, yeah, the jet stuff is cool, So he's not normally one to like science fiction at all, but he was into this movie. And I think, again, when we touched on it, it's the performances. It's the interaction between Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. The grudging relationship and friendship that forms between the two of them through the course of the movie. And the jabs that they have at each other throughout. It's very well written. I mean, unless some of that is, I don't know if any of it's like ad-libbed, but their banter back and forth is just phenomenal. I even now watching it, for this episode, my wife and I were watching it, and I commented to her, I said, their back and forth is just, it was making me chuckle, and I was invested in it, and I think that's why my dad was able to enjoy a type of film he normally doesn't like. So
let me ask you, Mike, what age range, if I don't know if you said it, do you think you were roughly?
10 to 12 range. Probably younger than 12, but probably not younger than 10-ish.
From that first experience until your most recent viewing for the podcast, how many times do you think roughly you had seen it? Had you watched it before in that time, or?
Yes, I've seen it. I've seen it maybe a total of maybe like 4 or 5 times through the years. Not a lot, but more than a couple. I was already a fan of this movie, so when you said this movie, I was like, oh, that's a good one. I didn't even think of that.
Nice. So some taglines from this film. There's really only one tagline, but they have 2 variations of the same tagline. So I think the main tagline is enemies because they were taught to be, allies because they had to be, brothers because they dared to be. And then the variation of that is enemies because they were taught to be, survivors because they had to be.
Okay.
So,
good.
I like the first one.
Yeah, the first one is great. Like the first one is kind of like
that little punch.
That even has like some oomph to it, some emotion in it. In what, 15 words?
Right.
It gives you, some, a good idea of where we're at here. But anyway, Rotten Tomatoes. Who would like to guess on the tomato meter or thermometer, however that is pronounced? Based on 24 critic ratings, where do you think this one falls on a scale?
Only 24 critic ratings?
24, yeah, on a scale from 0 to 100%. Where do you think it falls?
I bet the critics actually, they're somewhat favorable to this one. I'm going to go in the low 70 range.
Okay, Justin.
How many critics?
24.
Out of 24, it's probably going to go over a span of when it came out to present, so that'll change a few things.
Well,
probably low 70s, I'll say. No, I'm just 85.
Shockingly, 63%.
What?
I feel like this would rank somewhere in the 70s at least.
Yeah,
but
that's
63 is still...
It's still not horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible. I don't know what that word was. I'm having problems pronouncing words today.
That's that Drakese that you're speaking.
It's terrible.
It's not horrible. Let's get into some positives and negatives. This is
what was the audience score?
Oh, I'm sorry. Jesus Christ. Do you think this is our first episode? Audience score, what do you fellas think?
I think it's going to be higher. Well, if that was 63, I'm going to go high 70s for this one. Like 78.
Justin?
77.
77.
Trying to lowball me?
I wanted to say 79, but I know it's like closest without going over, so...
Well, you're both off. 68.
Fuck.
And that's based on 21,510 audience reviews. So here we go with some a range of reviews here. This is Nell Minnow from Movie Mom. She says, underappreciated gem with magnificent performances. Agreed.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, we got Mike Massey from Gone with the Twins.
Clever name.
This is a 6 out of 10 he gives it, but this is what he says. Again, some of these are they're all excerpts, but some of them can be misleading, so bear that in mind as we go. The makeup effects aren't exceptional, the starships are a bit clunky, and the designs of rodent fauna are stiff and uninspired.
When was that review from, just out of curiosity?
September 6th, 2020.
Yeah, I was going to say, if someone nowadays, I think looking back, who is 20 and their website sounds like a porn title, I think, yeah, if you haven't seen a lot, I can see looking back maybe, but I don't know, even then, I feel like it still holds up pretty good.
But he gives, I agree. There's one big thing I'll get into, again, teaser fellas, there's one big thing I want to get into later that really that I wish they did differently. But overall, other than that, I think it holds up really well. But he still gave it a 6 out of 10. So again, this excerpt is just showing where he's kind of tearing into it a little bit.
Yeah, he could go further and kind of swing back around.
So we got Roger Ebert.
Well, we respect his review regardless.
Yes.
So
Roger Ebert from Chicago Sun-Times. He says, it depends on plot gimmicks like the convenient arrival of enemies and the equally convenient arrival of friends to the rescue. It doesn't dare enough. And he gave it a 2.5 out of 4. So still
slightly above
average, I suppose. But
I really do think it's the performances that set this one above that the generic parts of it. You know what I'm those performances are just so good.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I hate movies that have enemies in them. I see what he was saying about it. It was kind of convenient how they just kind of now we have... But I don't know what... I kind of felt like it might have been needed for the story. But yeah.
I want to read the novella. I actually put it in my shopping cart on Amazon. I'm curious to read that.
Yeah, you'll have to report back to us how that goes, because I'm really curious to know... I hear it stayed pretty close to the source material.
Oh, okay.
With one pretty major element that's in the film. And I also want to talk about that.
Okay.
That I think is not in the book. And I think that's because the production team thought that viewers are stupid.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that here in a second.
Yeah.
So
you got my curiosity piqued on that one.
This review here, I can't find the full review, but this one seems a little fishy to me. I don't know what reviewer would put this in their review and not be a complete joke. They gave it a 4 out of 5. This is Alex Sandel from Juicy Cerebellum.
Oh.
And they say, I loved this movie as a kid. Haven't seen it since.
Okay.
I don't know, but there's no way for me to access that full review here. Usually there's a link where I can see the full
Was that person a super reviewer?
No, they're not, but still.
They're a super reviewer because they leave reviews like that. Because they have like 400,000 reviews that are just, oh, I liked this movie when I was a kid, but I haven't seen it since.
Well, to be fair, that might be his first step in his career towards being a reviewer.
Yeah,
we all got to crawl before we walk.
That's his episode 1.
Yeah.
Can only go uphill from there.
I loved this movie as a kid. Haven't seen it since. Next.
Wait, did he give it like a starred rating?
Yeah, he said 4 out of 5.
Oh, it's 4 out of 5. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, retro rating. If when he watches again, I'd be curious to see his comparison where he goes with the stars on that.
He's like, watched it as an adult. Fucking hated.
Yeah. 3 stars. I can't dump on that guy because that is pretty much every statement that comes out of my mouth on this podcast. Like, I don't know, I think I saw it once. That was cool. I have no depth or substance whatsoever.
Yeah, I guess you're right. We all do that.
That's what we do here.
To put it in print is a whole nother ball game.
It's out there forever.
Especially when it's literally 2 reviews below Roger Ebert. That's a ballsy move right there.
Yeah. He's like, I'm coming for you.
I'm coming for you. Oh, shit. All right, so Caffeinated Clint from Movie Hole. He says,
why do all these reviews, they all sound like porn titles? Like every single one of these.
That whole thing just sounded so icky.
Yeah. They're all making me feel a certain way. Go back and if you're listening, rewind and listen to the names of these things. Every single one.
A highly memorable, very touching fantasy. And
Agreed.
that is very true. And that's from 2005. 3 out of 5 stars.
It's one of those movies that I've never forgotten. For instance, like you with Robot Jocks. You saw it a bunch of times and then you completely forgot you even ever saw it. I don't know if I knew when I was young. I'm sure when I was younger I didn't know that was Louis Gossett, but I think I found out. I don't think I was even. You said you didn't find out till you were in your 20s.
Yeah,
I think
it was
I knew.
Years later.
I think I knew before then that it was Louis Gossett.
Well, why didn't you tell me, motherfucker?
I'm sorry. I didn't even know you even knew this movie.
Yeah, man.
You guys are supposed to share everything.
I know. God.
I'm MacGuffin First, the Betrayal. Share everything. Teasers, drama. Wow. Woo. We might win a
movie hole award.
Sponsored by CandiesWetAndWildRide.com.
Oh, God. Shit. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, me neither. Can we move on?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So Frederick and Mary Ann Brusset.
From BouncingButts.com. They're just getting more less discreet.
No, this is a... No, their site's called... It's called Wholesome Movies.
Is wholesome spelled H-O-L?
Why?
It doesn't matter. They already hate us. If their name's Wholesome Reviews, they already hate us.
How did that happen?
No, actually, listen. I'm joking. Their site's called.
Oh my God! I thought you were serious.
No, it's Spirituality and Practice is what their site is called.
That's even more like.
Yeah, fact stranger than fiction there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Anyway, they say, and this is a husband and wife duo here. They look like a nice couple in their picture.
Those are my favorite ones.
Oh, actually, it's a photo?
Yeah, photo. It
Why
says
don't we share that with the audience?
They gave a 2 out of 5. And it says, a hard pill to swallow despite the gallant efforts of Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. So...
Is there a couple pictures the man pregnant in it? Because it might have hit a little too close to home. I didn't appreciate this film one bit. Lizard people.
Oh my god. Oh look, okay, I'm just glancing at the audience reviews down here.
Holy
shit. This review from this super reviewer, I wanted to make sure he's not the same one from up top there. It says, I thought this movie was so awesome, I'd love to see it again.
Nostalgia seems to be the theme here.
Oh my god. Oh, this is great.
And he is a super reviewer, right?
Yeah, he was a super reviewer. This one, Connor R., super reviewer, says, it's either one of the worst movies ever made or a B-movie classic. That's really the only way I can see it.
Okay.
Well, that's 2 ways.
The dialogue and forced racism element is utterly hilarious. That's a sentence I didn't expect to read.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
These reviews are a fucking gold mine
And then it
today.
says, then there's this really bizarre alien birthing. This really...
Is that from frogpower.com?
Yeah. This really bizarre alien birthing aging process that I will never truly understand.
Well, you're not supposed to. It's an alien species, you dope.
While it's extremely enjoyable and fun, I don't think any of it was intentional.
What?
I fucking know. Anyway.
Oh, God. This is a nightmare.
Everyone knows babies come from the butt. I was waiting for him to put something absurd like that. Like, if that's the direction I was going.
Woo. All right.
Wow.
Anyway. All right, so a quick thing I wanted to get into real fast before we move along is... Even though this is a quote-unquote sci-fi, which I guess, would be. You got lizard people and space wars and all that stuff.
Right.
The opening space battle is less than 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I think sci-fi more is about questions and questioning morale and things like that. That's more science fiction to me. Like, where, like Sarah and I talk about this a lot where she's like, yeah, I don't consider Star Wars science fiction. She's like, that's like science fantasy. Where it's like it's an adventure movie, or it's like sci-fi adventure, like where like Star Trek, on the other hand, would be more sci-fi because it's constantly bringing up questions of morality, and it makes you think. It's always presenting questions to the viewer.
Yeah,
where I think this does it exactly. I mean, this is definitely brings up a lot of questions, and and I don't feel like it's. It's not true. I was gonna say I don't feel like it like pushes a message, but I think it does clearly, but.
Yeah, I think it really does. And you know what? I think that's why this film stuck with me at such a young age, because it was probably one of my first experiences. And look, if you want to look at this film and you want to say, oh, well, it's clearly about racism and intolerance, I mean, you could certainly look at it that way. I mean, it's a very huge part of the plot is based on just two people that don't get along because they don't want to or they're told they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And I think as a young kid, that was one of my first experiences with kind of seeing that and then seeing what it could be like if two people who it would appear have completely different lives, completely different traditions and cultures and experiences and languages, what can happen when they communicate? We're all the same,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah,
And I don't want to go down this road of having this big, on a soapbox kind of moral message, but you have to at least address it.
We all know
in
it's
this film.
there, right?
It's there.
Well, at the end of the day, the thing is two people who just disagree at the beginning, it could be anyone. It could be you and me. It could be it's about building relationships. It's like I always say, like true relationships are usually forged and they're not built. You know what I mean? Like it's not like carefully laying a bricks of a foundation that brings strong bonds between people. It's the gritty, dirty fights you get with someone and then getting over it, and then you're like, you spill blood together. You know what I mean? It kind of if you could like really like, because then you're being true, like you're like standing your ground with someone. And then if you're going tit for tat, and then at the end of the day, if you could walk away from that and then respect that person, then I think that's a stronger bond.
Yeah.
I will now get off my soapbox.
But I think that's what really always stuck with me with this film. It was always kind of in me. It made me feel really good and really hopeful.
Yeah.
As a young kid, at the end of it, oh, well, if, a drac and a human can get along, then, what else is possible? This is a little 7 to 10-year-old thinking this. And it was just really a really good lesson for me, a young boy, to look. Last sentence I want to say, it's another example of how intolerance of others is not born in you, it's taught.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a great example. Look, by the end, dude, when he, again, spoilers, hopefully you've watched the movie, but when he goes in and gets Zammis and comes out with him, I'm just fuck yeah, dude. It just makes you feel so fucking good. Well, this man fell in love with this young child and protected it, became his protector, and he had an oath, and he wanted to, make sure that he held up his end of the bargain. It was just such a fucking wonderful,
and
just a wonderful message there,
To play on the bigger picture of that, Pat, not only did the two of them having their relationship together also brought others into it that would have been enemies. For instance, the other Dracs, they were like, oh, that's Uncle.
Yeah.
He's one of the good guys, even though he's a human. So they helped him. And then you got Dennis Quaid's buddies who show up to help. Who were soldiers.
Normally, they could have come in guns a-blazing,
they were
mowing down
soldiers
all
trained
these Dracs.
to kill Dracs. But they went in to help. So it's it's spreading the acceptance.
I feel like it wasn't laid on too thick either.
I don't think so.
I felt it was a little thick, but it wasn't too thick. You know what I mean? It wasn't beating you over the head with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the point. You know what I mean? So they're definitely gonna.
Yeah,
sure.
But I think too. I agree with you, Justin. It was definitely tiptoeing on the line of being too much, and I think what kept it level for me and feeling right was the fact that they kept it about the story of these two characters and then the young boy. They didn't show at the end a bunch of humans and Dracs, singing Kumbaya, holding hands.
Yeah, that would have been
talked about
corny.
Their story.
Yep.
And I think that's what kept it. They kept it from going over the ledge.
Kept it a little more grounded.
And again, science fiction, that leaves you with more questions because that's one tiny step. You know what I mean? That's the first step of that journey. And you're like, what's going to happen? Are they going to, and that's cool. It leaves it like that. When I mentioned to my friend that we were going to watch this, and I was telling him, and we were kind of discussing about it, he's like, yeah, it reminds me of Hell in the Pacific with Lee Marvin, which I've never seen.
I've never seen that.
But yeah, John Boorman directed it.
Okay.
So I'd like to see it. I'm like, did Excalibur, Deliverance. I think he also did The Heretic, Exorcist 2, The Heretic. Anyway.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
That movie's an abomination.
Yeah. Well, they can't all be home runs.
That's true.
But yeah, same thing. It's just about these two guys, and I think it's like World War II. Lee Marvin just plays a character called American Pilot, and then Toshiro Mifune plays another, I guess. Then I guess they crash land on this island. They have to rely on each other to survive. But the whole movie's just the two of them.
I would like to watch that. What year did that come out?
68. 1968.
I would be interested to watch that.
Yeah, me too.
And that brings up a good point. This story is a classic story. The two people who are sworn enemies that have to rely on each other to survive. I mean, it's not the first time or the last time that type of story has been told. But I think it's done well in this case.
Let me ask you, though. So the other movie you were just talking about, Lee Marvin, he's an American soldier, and then the other one is Japanese?
Yeah.
And so at what point in the movie does the Japanese soldier give birth?
To Godzilla. Which then dies of diabetes. Anyway... I like to tie every other episode back into this one, so people are like, well, I don't get that reference. Well, go back and listen to some of the other ones.
Yeah, listen to
some
our previous episodes, and you'll find what he's referencing there.
Exactly.
You gotta go through every episode, and you'll find
Again, more teasers. Look at us, man. We're just nailing them.
We're on fire. It's mystery. This is like mystery night.
So let's talk about, before I get to Pat's points, which it's a little early for that, but let's talk about the production issues that they had with this film.
Please.
The original director, Richard Loncraine, which I'm not too familiar with what he's done. I can look him up real quick. Richard III, Band of Brothers. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
He did The Haunting of Julia. Did you ever see that?
No, I have not.
Has Mia Farrow in it.
Okay.
And Keir Dullea, which you would recognize from, I was going to say Black Christmas, but that we and most of the people listening to, but
2001: A Fifth Space Odyssey.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. I couldn't say it, but I did say it.
Yeah, I've tried watching this several times. Sarah really likes this. She said it's a really good ghost story. I keep falling asleep watching it because it's usually after work or something. Anyway,
what is it called again?
The Haunting of Julia. The Haunting of Julia Gulia.
Julia Gulia. It's isn't that the wedding singer?
Yeah.
All right, so Richard Loncraine was the original, or Loncraine. We're awful with our pronunciations of names, aren't we?
Which actually, I tried to make it a point for this one to nail the names, only because one of the interesting themes about this is how important to Jerry, how the lineage and the names, and how even that part where he drives it in, he tells them everything, like identity is very important to them. So I was like, I'm going to, for a change, I'm going to make sure I don't say Louis Gossett Jr. or Dennis Quaid.
I was going to say Dennis Quack.
Donna Quaid.
I mean, even my fake name I screwed up this time.
Yeah.
I was going to say Dennis Quado.
All right, so Richard Loncraine was the original director, and they greenlit the film with Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. The film was originally given an $18 million budget, began shooting in 1984. Producers quickly became concerned with budget overruns, creative differences, and poor quality dailies. They said, quote, it looked like a 50s horror movie on planet Earth for millions of dollars. And I guess they were originally shooting in Iceland. And even Louis Gossett Jr. said, yeah, it looked like we were in Iceland. It didn't look like an alien planet. It looked like they were on Earth. Yeah, it just looked like a lizard man in Iceland is what I think Louis Gossett Jr. said. As well, his makeup, I think, it just looked horrible. So what ended up happening is the production team got freaked the F out, and they ended up firing Loncraine, and they offered to bring in Wolfgang Peterson. However, Peterson, I believe, couldn't do it right away. He was shooting Neverending Story.
Okay.
And they really wanted him for whatever reason. So they told him that they would halt production and keep Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. on retainer or whatever to keep their services, so when he is done with Neverending Story, he could come right over and they could pick up production.
Oh, cool.
That's what they ended up doing. And when he got in there, he looked at the footage they had, and he decided to scrap it and start over. And he reshot everything, and all new locations, everything. So these actors...
Didn't they go to, like, Spain or something? Or...
Well, yeah, they ended up...
Germany.
It was Germany.
Germany.
Yep.
He's from Germany, like, because it's a Bavarian movie studio or something.
So the outside scenes, all the volcanic lava landscapes and the green lake, well, some of the shots of the lake that you see were all shot in Lanzarote, one of the Canary Islands off the coast of Morocco.
Oh, okay.
And the rest of the film was at Bavaria Film Studios in Munich, West Germany.
Yeah, you can tell there's a lot of matte paintings. A lot of
matte paintings for sure.
Yeah,
yes.
A lot of that.
Yeah, matte paintings and green screen and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which the matte painting work and the green screen work is phenomenal.
It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Even if you look at that last scene where you see them, all the Drax standing there on that ledge.
their planet, yeah.
Yeah, that scene with the matte painting and the water, which is moving. You know, like normally when you see those matte painting shots, like the water's still because it's part of the painting.
Yeah.
But they green screened in the water, so there was motion. Just looked really good.
I thought it looked a little weird, but it did look good, especially for the time.
Oh, for the time, that's what I'm referencing. Yeah. If they were to make that today, I'm sure it would look a hell of a lot better. I mean, shit, you could play video games with better looking quality, but
the work they put into it,
the work they put in when you consider they were combining real life matte painting and green screen, and they put that puzzle together, and it looked as good as it did in 1984, 1985 is pretty phenomenal.
I'm with you.
A few of the sets are still part of the studio tour in that West German studio. So that's pretty cool. The cost ended up being, now keep in mind, it started with about an $18 million budget. It ended up being about $40 million when all said and done.
And it was a flop.
It ended up making $1.6 million opening weekend.
Christ, I didn't know it was that bad.
And then it was $12 million overall in the theater.
What was the release date on this?
The release date was...
I think it's literally right in front of me.
Oh, is it? Do you know it?
No, never mind. That's Wolfgang Peterson's birthday.
That's Wolfgang Peterson's release date?
December 20th, 1985 in the U.S.
Wow, right before Christmas.
That's really interesting because remember last week when we did Robot Jocks and then it ended up being like falling in line with Charles Band's birthday?
Oh, yeah.
It was funny. Sarah sent me an article. It was really interesting. Where Louis Gossett Jr. Said stuff, and I looked, and I wanted to give credit to him, so I wrote down when and where it was from. It was from the Chicago Tribune, December 27th, 1985. So, it's like an odd coincidence. It's right almost,
wild.
It's within a few days.
That's crazy. So, anyway, a complete and utter flop. The pond where they meet was the same artificial pond that they custom built, and it was in Das Boot. As well as a few scenes were shot in some locations and some sets that were built for Neverending Story. So that's kind of cool.
That part in that lake when he's swimming reminded us, Sarah and I both, of because I was thinking, and she said it reminded us of Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh, sure,
just
totally.
with him in the suit, it's just focusing on his movements and everything was very
dude,
reminiscent.
And he just to go back to Louis Gossett Jr., man, he fucking crushed it.
He did.
Just his movements, and then when he gets out, how he squats there and he's doing the whole head thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he just created this character, and you didn't even hear a word out of him yet or a sound. You just saw this guy from afar.
And he already has personality. But actually, that article I read, Chicago Tribune, written by Vernon Scott in 1985, he was talking about Louis Gossett Jr. Preparing for this, and he said he went to a zoo and studied multiple different animals.
Oh, I believe it,
and then tried to incorporate like certain mammals, certain lizards, birds, and everything. And he said he got inspiration from a lizard, ostrich, leopard, kangaroo, and Stevie Wonder.
Nice.
His quote, those were his inspirations for the character. Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Great. So before Peterson was brought in, some of the other directors that were considered, Terry Gilliam was actually offered the director's chair.
That would have been a very different film.
Yeah, and he went on to direct Brazil.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have been. I like Terry Gilliam, but I think it would not have been what it became.
It would not have been a good match, I don't think. No.
And David Lynch was also considered.
No. Also, both of them are too abstract and surreal for this type of. I mean, this movie doesn't need to be that way.
No,
I think it was just that around this time in the mid '80s. I think there was a lot of like the surreal filmmakers.
Sure.
Getting them into more consumer friendly things. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, they should have learned the mistake with Dune. With David Lynch.
Oh.
Yeah, so get this, though. So the film, like I said, faced severe issues during production, and Lon Crane shot the entire film on location in Iceland before being replaced, who then reshot. Now, get this. Word on the street is... Now, so when Peterson came in, he added elements, changed elements, reshot the whole thing. There were differences. But word on the street is there is a second version of the film that is cut, at least a rough cut, and it exists in the vaults of 20th Century Fox / Disney now. But it exists. shot in Iceland with the old makeup and the old director. I would love to see that movie.
Yeah, dude, that'd be great.
Yeah. But I can imagine how different they must be. But that's pretty cool to know that exists.
Let me tell you right now, Disney, put it out on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
they
put it
won't.
on Disney Plus.
They won't.
At least one person in here will buy it.
Yeah, one person on the MacGuffin Guild will buy it.
One out of 3, though. That's pretty good.
I'm trying to think of who that would be. Who would buy that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Place your bets, folks. Let us know.
If you listen to previous episodes, you know who that would be.
I was going to add on to that production thing. So, would it be in Munich? When we went to Munich, one of the things we were going to see was that at that studios, they had all kinds of... they had, like, props from Neverending Story. Like, you could ride Falcor. Like, you can get on them and get your picture taken.
Shit. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then they had, like, you could walk through the submarine from Das Boot.
Okay.
And
nice.
so now it makes sense. It's all, he was connected
so his
to both of them.
roots were deep over there.
Yeah,
Clearly.
I didn't even realize, but part of the reason we didn't go because I was talking to some of my coworkers and we're like, nah, it's kind of whack.
Well, look, you know what I'll say. Well, you should have gone. You should listen to your friends.
We had limited time on how much stuff we could do, and there was like a ton of other stuff we wanted to do.
Yeah. I will say this for fellas and ladies in our age range, we've seen that meme that's floating around that says something, and I'm paraphrasing, but something to the effect of, I thought quicksand would be a bigger problem in my adulthood. I realize now it's because of Wolfgang Peterson that I feel quicksand would have been a bigger problem. Never-ending story. And now what happens in Enemy Mine with that tentacle creature that comes out of the quicksand. Two things that have literally devastated me as a youth, and now they stuck with me. I mean, think about it. What other director has utilized quicksand the way Wolfgang Peterson?
I'm going to get back to you because I know they're out there.
I challenge you.
All right,
Seriously, find two films that have left such an impact in our youth.
My first experience
Wolfgang.
with the whole quicksand thing was like the old Tarzan show and stuff. Like I remember seeing it on there.
Yeah.
But as far as films, Neverending Story was definitely the one that, like...
Yeah, that was the one, dude. That was...
fucking devastating. It still is.
That's...
Yeah, especially to a kid, of course. But even as an adult, it's still just like, oh, man, this sucks.
We really endured a lot of emotional trauma from movies in the 80s.
Oh, the 80s were like, what can we do to fuck up this kid's day?
Even like Robot Jocks, they were saying, it's geared towards children, and we're talking about how the robot just falls on these people and the screaming and mothers holding their children.
Singe stuffed animals and just awful.
I'll tell you the one that really got me as a kid that haunted me for years is, I remember getting all excited. I was a huge Transformers fan when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah, I know where you're going.
Yeah, I remember being all excited. I sat there to watch Transformers, and one of my favorite Transformers was Prowl. I don't know, I just really like Prowl. And like the Transformers are taking off, and then when the Decepticons invade the ship and they come on, they start fucking wasting people wholesale. Like, and it's not even like they blast them and they fall over and they're like, oh, all right, he survived. It's like, I remember a slow motion shot, like Prowl gets his chest, a hole blasted in his chest, and he starts falling in slow motion, and you just see the lights flicker off in his eyes, and he hits the ground.
Like
and I remember watching, I'm like...
smoke coming out of his mouth, and his eyes, like, go out, like the lights go out. Yeah, it's awful.
He'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Nope. And then at the end, they're just dropping them into the molten steel or whatever. Remember
they're melting them down,
Just melting them down.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah.
Man, that was they did put us. You want to know, and this is completely unrelated to Transformers, but it has to do with me as a youth watching something on TV that literally for years stuck with me and effed me up. Like I couldn't get it off my mind. I felt like I saw a death happen. Like that's how like traumatic it was at the time. I guess it was Glow, the wrestling with the female wrestling.
Oh yeah. I used to watch that as a kid.
I have to try to Google it or YouTube it, see if it's out there anywhere, but one of the ladies at the time literally took a blowtorch to the other lady's face.
Ooh.
Now, I think it was all like TV magic. I don't know that the blowtorch actually touched her face, but it looked like it got her. And like as a 5 to 7 year old that saw that on Sunday morning on the TV, it like stuck with me for years.
Yeah, that would be pretty traumatic,
man.
It was
awful. It was awful. I mean, not as traumatic as your favorite Transformer dying a slow, painful death, but still.
I don't know. He's a cartoon, and this is a real lady.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, going back to the whole Transformers thing with Prowl, and I think Ratchet dies in that scene, too. Same scene. There's a few of them. And then with Optimus dying.
Oh, yeah.
That was traumatizing for me. I bawled like a goddamn baby.
It is, but it kind of built up to that, and that was like a point in the movie. The other ones are just like, so what? You're all dead, and then we just move on. You know what I mean?
With Optimus, though, it's the music playing, and he's like has his last words, and Daniel's crying.
I don't know what's worse, the big build up with the music and all that, or just like, oh, you're so not important, you're just going to be like a throwaway kill. Like. That's kind of awful.
So because of the backlash to that movie, with like parents being like furious because their kids were like traumatized by that movie, G.I. Joe changed something. The G.I. Joe movie, that was originally supposed to be theatrical, and then they ended up not doing it theatrically. But the part where Duke gets hit, Serpentor throws that snake spear at him and hits him, and in the finished film, it's like he's gone into a coma, and then at the end of the movie, they're like, "Hey everybody, great news! Duke's gonna be A-OK."
That's lame.
Yeah, you know.
Serpentor just like hits him in the face with a pie.
In the real movie, or in the original version, before the Transformers outrage, he died. He's supposed to die. That spear is supposed to hit him, and he's supposed to die, but they added these lines of dialogue saying he went into a coma, and at the end of the movie, they added a voiceover saying, Duke's going to be A-OK. Yeah.
You know what, though? I can kind of get it. I don't like it as a 40-year-old storytelling-wise. It's kind of lame. But yeah, we did, well, I say we, our parents' generation did put us through a lot of horse shit.
And we turned out all right, kind of.
Yeah, maybe it toughened us up, you know?
Maybe.
Well, here's another thing. We're not online crying about every goddamn thing, too, so... We're just having a podcast where we complain about everything. Like, you actually have to go out of your way to see it.
Yeah, I was waiting for the punchline there. I knew you weren't done. I get it. But you know what makes me more upset is what you told us. I don't even know what episode this was on, Mike. How you told us. I think it was on one of our episodes. You were telling us about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the second movie. How after the backlash from the first movie,
they don't even use their weapons.
They don't use their weapons.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how that didn't dawn on me.
Yeah,
but like once you mentioned it, I'm like, oh,
uses sausages instead of his nunchucks, and Leonardo stabs his swords into the ceiling and then holds onto them and kicking people. It's like,
that to me is more upsetting.
Well, it is, because
that's more upsetting, because now we're talking. Now it's film. It's not cartoon anymore, and now you have the ability to say, hey, PG-13, you can bring your kid, but guess what? The ninjas are going to be using ninja weapons.
Yeah.
That one seemed a little more inexcusable to me.
I do remember something in G.I. Joe that actually stuck with me, that traumatized me in the movie. There was a part where they're invading Cobra La 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 La, and then, or whatever the name of the place was they were
Cobra
from.
La, but they say Cobra La 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 La.
That's right, yeah.
That's like their war cry, but it is called Cobra La.
I remember the guys running in, and then a lot of them get tangled up by these vines.
Oh yeah.
And then it shows them struggling with the vines. It's like, okay, and then later it cuts away, and then when the next squad of people go in, you still see the vines, but there's like skeletons and stuff in them now. So it doesn't show them getting devoured by them. But I might have made that up, but I think I remember it as a kid, and it was like, it wasn't just like the green helmeted guys. It was like I don't know,
actual,
like Quick Kick and actual dudes.
I'm not sure.
Like, okay. Well, I guess I could throw that toy in the trash because it's not canon.
I used to or I still have, actually, these G.I. Joe character cards. Mm-hmm. Not the ones that came with the toys. Like the boxes had a little attribute card on the back of the cardboard, but little playing cards looked like. And a lot of the characters on the back would say a little bit about them, and then said, died during the Cobra La thing. So tons of them actually did die. They just don't say it in the movie, because I don't know if you remember, but at the end of that, the whole thing blows up. There's a big explosion. Well, a lot of them end up dying. Like, tons of them. Tons of Cobras, tons of Joes. You never see them. Because they did that show after that really sucked. Like, they did a continuation where they completely changed everything.
I kind of remember.
It's bad. They bring Cobra Commander back and all this stuff. It's very, very bad. But anyway...
Is that when Cobra Commander had like that silver outfit? Like he had the silver mask before, but there was one where he had like a
yes, it's
like a breathing tank thing.
Yes.
I had that toy.
All right. Well, let me say this.
I bought it a week ago on eBay.
Before we continue, being as we're spending a lot of time on G.I. Joe here.
The connection is Dennis Quaid was in the G.I. Joe movie.
That's right.
You're
That's
right.
where we're getting to there. Yeah.
But all I wanted to say was that as most of you, if not all of you know, a MacGuffin is a plot device used to drive along a film. And we here at the MacGuffin Guild like to use the film as a MacGuffin to drive along our conversations. Hence... why we are talking about G.I. Joe and the Dennis Quaid connection. So that is a very good segue on your part, Justin.
Bringing it back around.
That sounds like a movie title. The Dennis Quaid Connection.
The Dennis Quaid connection.
Rated R.
The Dennis Quaid saga. I will say this. This is the one thing that bugged me that even I brought it up to Sarah. She's like, that's not a big deal. And I'm like, it's not a big deal. And it's fine because I know it would have been harder to do or whatever. I don't know. Mm-hmm. One thing that kind of, I wish they would have had Jerry, I think he called the Drac character.
Yeah,
I wish they would have had him already know English, but not conversational English, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, I wish he knew enough to kind of know a little bit, because he like, for them to have that communication back and forth, it seemed like he picked up on a lot of little vocal nuances and stuff like that, like out of the blue. However, they do mention about how, like, when they talked about how quickly his spawn grew in 3 years. Like, maybe they just develop and learn and everything faster. So I don't know. So she's like,
well, no, I think you're right, but I think the flip side of that is it showed. I mean, it ended up being what, 3 years?
They spent 3 years. Yeah.
You think you're there 3 years with nowhere else to go? You're sitting in this hut for 3 years with another person or being. And
that's
I can totally see how. What else are you going to do? You're just going to, I mean,
was
you got
point too.
Nothing but time. Yeah.
I was taking it from the aspect where I've had Duolingo on my phone for a year and a half and haven't learned Spanish yet.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
it's like, but I'm like too busy casting pods.
That's because you didn't have to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and plus, you have a day
survival.
job. Yeah, and you're not on some foreign planet.
You're not just you're literally just sitting there with nothing else, like
dealing with literal meteor showers.
Yeah,
building houses out of Koopa shells.
Yeah. So this film took place. Correct me if I'm wrong. Was it 2092 to 2095? I think that's what it said. It took place.
Sounds right.
I should say that was the period of time that Dennis Quaid's character was missing.
Yep. Correct.
Yes.
So it was 3 years. So maybe he spent 2 years with Jerry. And then a year with his son
Beavis or whatever his name was.
Beavis.
Zammis. Where he holds up the pants he makes and goes, Zammis.
Yeah.
I like when he's explaining the rules of football.
Oh yeah.
He's like, all right, you understand? He's like, no. He's just like this deadpan. No.
That kid was a natural, though, man. Did you see his footwork?
Oh, I know. He was all like, woo. I wish you could see me right now, but you can't.
Which fits well with it being a podcast and all.
Yeah.
So, Pat's points. All right. Here's what I got. I'm just going to rattle some things off, so react to anything you see fit. Space turtle / horseshoe crab creature. That thing was a little...
Yeah, I said horseshoe crab. I said that to Angel.
That was good.
Again, it was nice to see that again after all these years, because it has been a large chunk of time since I've watched this last. So when I saw it again, it just brought back this wave of like, oh shit, I forgot all about that thing.
Yeah.
The tentacle from the ground, which we've already touched on, but that left a mark on me. That thing was fucking horrifying. And
yeah, it freaked me out when I was younger too.
And then the fact that it gets into their hut or whatever you want to call it,
their home thing,
their home, and then you eventually see its face.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Maybe they should have not shown the face, just because it was a bit like cheeseball puppet. But
Sarah's like, why is the thing that spends most of its time underground have eyes?
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Because I thought it was a wolf or something coming out of there. I'm like, what is this thing? This is weird. But I still liked it.
Yeah, I like the quote. You understand any English, toad face? So again, it got right to it, to the hate.
Yeah.
Talk about real quick the novel, the novella.
Yeah, novella
by Barry Longyear. I had teased earlier.
I'm curious about this.
Yeah, I teased earlier about one little element. So there's a few things that I'm aware of. Well, two. One is very minor. Another is a little larger. The minor thing was it was a difference between Coke and Pepsi. One scene when Dennis Quaid's character starts to discover that there's life there because there's trash and all that. He picks up a Pepsi can. I guess in the book it was a Coke can. Now I don't know why they made the change, but whatever.
Sponsorship.
They went the opposite way in Real Genius, where in the story it was a Pepsi can, in the movie it's Coke can.
Well,
is that true? You never know. You might have to watch Real Genius and find out, and then you'll be ready for a future podcast of ours.
That's right.
Another teaser.
Holy shit, dude! You're on fire.
We are on fire. God. All right, so. Whew. The biggest difference, though, to my knowledge, again, I did not read the book, but
I'm going to do that, and I'll give an update.
So apparently, let me bring this up so I'm reading it correctly. Author Barry Longyear reported at a convention that the studio insisted on adding a subplot involving a mine, thinking the audience would not realize that the mine, quote unquote, in the title was a possessive, as in my enemy, rather than an object.
Oh my God.
You know what's funny is when we were watching it and they showed them coming out of the mine, I said to Sarah just jokingly, I'm like, is that the mine they were talking about when they said enemy mine? Har, har, har. And they were like chuckling it up. And then we read that in the IMDb facts and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Like, are you serious?
Oh my God.
I know. Yeah, that's something. But again, and I think it happens a lot. I think studios don't give, but then again, who are we to say the thing was a flop in the theater? So.
Yeah.
Because of the mine.
Because of the mine. No, but my thing is
come to the movies to see rocks. People busting rocks is stupid.
I don't come to the movies to see rocks.
I don't care what kind of art you're into. I think you have to give the viewer of whatever your medium of choice is a little bit of credit and a little bit of respect that you don't have to explain everything to them. But
yeah, I
guess they saw it fit.
I agree with that.
Here's the deal, though. Having not known that when I saw it as a youth, and as I was growing up, a young fella, a young chap,
a young Drac yourself,
young Drac. I always liked the wordplay. I liked that it had dual meaning, because I like thinking of the title as enemy mine, as in my enemy. I like that. I think that's more kind of badass to think of it like that. But then when it's like, oh, yeah, by the way, here's a mine that actually plays into the story. Now, what do we mean? I kind of like that wordplay. Yeah. But anyway.
That's nice. I love wordplay anyway. I like anything. I love subtle. Even we talked about with The Vanishing. Oh, no, it wasn't you. I think it was Sarah. Something that said, broke down the word spoilos or whatever about hunting and stuff.
That was a great point, yeah. Yeah, whatever she said.
Yeah, you should listen to that
Whatever
episode.
She said was great. I'll have to listen back.
You listen back to that episode. Actually, it's 2 episodes of for The Vanishing.
Yep.
So.
And Mike's only good for half of it. So, So, Mike, you'll have to get back to us.
Really good half.
Yeah, really good half. Get back to us when you read the book. I would love to know.
Yeah, I'm actually I didn't even know it was a novella. I thought maybe, is it like a short story? And I'm gonna have to seek it out. But then I found the novella, it's readily available. So I was like, I'm gonna buy that.
So I
didn't know that was a thing.
I'm pretty sure this film is the first time, again, having watched it recently. I'm pretty sure that was the first time I ever saw anything, a human especially, cauterized with a hot poker or hot piece of steel, whatever they used.
Yeah, whatever that was.
After the...
it looked like a stick, but I don't think it was.
Yeah, whatever they used. I don't know. Yeah, they would have had to have used...
It was a red-hot stick.
Red hot stick. Yeah, I'm guessing it was something from one of their...
it was metal.
Their ship rubble.
That was another thing I was going to point out was, like, there's a... Not like it's, like, overly bloody, but there's some blood in this movie.
For sure.
There is.
You know, his leg is all torn up.
Oh, yeah, when he's getting yanked on by that
That was gnarly. I thought he was going to lose his leg. I honestly thought he was going to lose his leg.
Call that when you get your skin like ripped off the bone like that?
Like flayed.
Oh my god, that's just horrifying. But yeah, I thought he was going to like pull it down like to the shin, just pull all that skin down.
Yeah,
it looked pretty legit.
There's a couple different spots in that movie that are pretty bloody. I was like, oh man, this was pushing the envelope for PG-13.
When the guy gets pushed, now we're in the mine now, when Dennis Quaid pushes the dude off and he goes into that big drill bit grinder thing.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, the practical effects. I mean, okay, we talked about it earlier, about the makeup, the practical effects. Very little, if any. I mean, I guess the CGI stuff would be the space stuff, but even that was green screen and stuff. Like... Maybe the lasers being shot. I don't know. I don't know that there was any really, like... Everything was so practical and green screen and matte painting and old school 80s filmmaking. Like, this is one of those films, it breathes to me. It feels right. Like it's got meat on its bones. It's got hair. It's not, it's not just this, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's not an illusion. I'm not trying to be... It's not a magic trick gone wrong. It's something that I can see and I can feel and I can experience. Like, I hope that makes sense, but I know what I'm trying to say.
It makes sense.
No, I
But
know,
I think
know
a
what
lot
you're
of
saying.
80s movies kind of did that, and it wasn't by choice, it was by necessity, because the technology wasn't as advanced. And then when the technology became advanced, just like anything with I think, human nature, when things become easier, we get lazier. And I think now a lot of even though we have access to technology that can literally put a dinosaur in your living room, it's like, oh, well, we can do 10 times as much with half the budget. Let's just do it all, and then it looks like shit,
Yeah.
So
that's a crime. It's criminal.
It is. It is. But this film is one of those films that, to me, and I know there are certain scenes, like you referenced the ending where it could have looked a little better, but when you consider the time... to me, it stands the test of time, except for one element.
Okay.
I wish they would have done differently.
I know what it is.
What is it?
It's the Houston Oilers.
No.
They don't exist.
Oh.
He mentioned something about the Houston Oilers when they're talking about football. I was like, they didn't see that one coming, did they?
Oh, shit.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. I didn't even think about that.
That is such a good point, because, this would have been 2092. But then again, how do we know they don't move back?
Maybe they came back.
Even though they're the Texans now.
Yeah. They play in Moon Stadium for, what was it? Warren Moon was their quarterback.
Oh,
for ages, yeah.
Well, that's funny, dude.
I thought for sure you'd pick up on that
funny.
being a football guy.
No,
As soon as he said that, I started laughing. I was like, I remember the Oilers.
That's funny. No, that one went over my head. That's funny. My complaint is the one element that does date the film, which, Justin, you should be able to guess this.
Mickey Mouse?
No.
Okay. I'm done guessing. Okay.
The music.
Is it... really?
Um...
I like
Now,
the
listen,
music.
I like portions of the music, but there's a couple, I would say 3 or 4 scenes where they go real synth-heavy keyboards, and I wish they would have gone 100% across the board orchestra-style score instead of bringing keyboards into the mix. And I get it. It was even, when you look at the time and you look at it's a sci-fi movie. It's supposed to have kind of this quote-unquote futuristic synth sounds. I can get why they did it, but to me, it's the one thing that doesn't hold up. It's those couple scenes that have that synth music. I wish it would have been like straight-up orchestra. That was one thing. You mentioned Star Wars earlier. That was I have always said that is one of the biggest reasons, and you could look at others, there are others, the Alien franchise, one of the biggest reasons that those franchises hold up, even as the technology looks so bad when we look at it now based on capabilities, it's because of the music. That music makes it timeless.
It's a huge factor, sure.
You know, but when you start adding keyboards and laser sounds, it's like, it instantly, like, timestamps it, and it's like,
I don't know. It didn't stand out to me.
It didn't stand out to me either. I'll have to listen to it again. I do remember at one point there was a particular sound music score part that I wasn't crazy about, but as a whole, I didn't mind because I always associate science fiction and synth sounds and stuff together.
Yeah.
It's like peanut butter and jelly to me. So I don't even.
Well, and then that kind of music has made like a comeback anyway. So it came full circle.
Yeah,
kind of.
I can appreciate that, and you know, I feel the same way to a point that I'm okay because they did it in this genre of film. But I just wish that there, and I'm only talking maybe 4 scenes. I wish they just would have tweaked. You know, if they would have done that exact same piece, but do it with an orchestra as opposed to doing it on a keyboard with those, you know, cliche keyboard sounds. Oh, we're gonna make a science fiction 80s movie. You know, like, like it was just like,
was that a turkey?
Too much for me at moments. But that's that's like my biggest complaint with the movie, though. Is just a couple scenes with the music.
The one guy who's like the young guy that's in the ship with, I almost said Randy Quaid, Dennis Quaid, his partner that like crash lands with him. I was like, I recognize that guy.
That's Joey. Well, his character's name was Joey.
Yeah, Joey. He is the kid from Salem's Lot.
Oh, really?
I just watched that recently. That's why I recognized him so instantly.
That's funny. I was watching Salem Lot not too long ago, and I still didn't even pick it up. I think I fell asleep watching it, though.
I was like, this guy looks so familiar. What do I know him from? And then I looked it up. I was like, God damn it, he's from Salem's Lot.
Here, let me
So he's the
see.
kid in that.
Nice.
I forget it. I forget the actor's name. I did look him up,
I'm
but
look it up real quick.
he stopped acting in like 1995.
I thought that was kind of cool with him, speaking of him, when they were talking about, I got a date with this girl, and they were like joking, and he's like, the white balloon or something.
White balloon?
And it's like, haha. And then the kid's dying. He's like, yeah, I think we're going to score. And I'm like, oh, these guys are just whatever. And then as he's dying, he's like, don't call her that, okay? She doesn't like it. And it's like, it was like really heartbreaking that this kid actually
tell the
loved.
guys not to call her that either.
That he made that guy seem more human. He wasn't just some like creep. Like he like loved this girl. And that he loved the girl that everyone like made fun of and stuff. And was like, don't.
And
sure.
he even said, she lost 20 pounds.
Yeah. But I think also they were making fun of her just to like rib him as well.
But I think it went from just being. The feeling I got was like, oh, these are just a bunch of guys being guys doing guy stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They were just like, oh, they're just. But then it added a little more depth to the guy. It wasn't.
Sure, I totally agree.
I'm trying to find. I thought his name was Joey, and I can't find him in the credits. Maybe I got it wrong. What's his? Do you know his name, Mike?
Lance Kerwin as Joey Wooster.
Oh, yeah, you just have him as Wooster on here.
Wooster. Okay, that's why I couldn't find him. Okay. So a couple more thoughts, a couple more Pat's points before we move along to our ratings. One planet that has these... I mean, look, I'll never complain about hail again. Those meteor showers were pretty intense.
That.
Yeah.
That was craziness. Can you imagine, though? I mean, I'm sure there are planets out there that deal with that. I'm just thankful that we don't, it's just crazy.
I'd be like... Just fucking hit me. Get it over with.
Yeah, exactly. I did like the line where Louis Gossett Jr.'s character says, talking about humans, how they spread like a disease.
Oh, yeah.
There were definitely plenty of underlying, backhanded, tongue-in-cheek messages about how shitty we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it just showed. It just reinforced the fact why they both had their reasons for disliking each other. You know what I mean? Because they even pointed like, "Oh, you invaded," and like, "No, you invaded." Like they both thought they were both accusing the other one because they were both traveling. It was like a movable object reaching a I don't know, unstoppable. I don't know,
unstoppable force.
An unstoppable force. So yeah, it was just they were just going through space and they hit each other. Like just difference of opinion. Yeah.
These 2 points that I have coming up here are it again ties back into the emotional connection that I have with this film and things that I felt even as a youth, but now I feel in a slightly different way as an adult. And it's the first one has to do with the connection between Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr.'s character and the childbirth scene. Mm-hmm. And I love the conundrum that Quaid finds himself in when he realizes what's happening. And he's excited but horrified and nervous but thrilled, and just all these emotions just smashing into each other. And then I love that line where Dennis Quaid, who clearly in his human mind doesn't understand right away, even though I'm sure he knows it, that Dracs give birth, I guess the term would be asexually. It's even mentioned in the film that giving birth to offspring for a Drac is not a choice. They do it spontaneously at some point in their lives. So I'm assuming asexual would be the proper term.
Are they hermaphroditic?
No.
I think ace.
They reproduce asexually.
So, okay, my point is, and I apologize for having the terminology wrong, but even though Dennis Quaid's character understands this Drac alien race...
He understands the biology of it, yeah.
He understands the biology of them for him to, like, be dealing with it. Mm-hmm. And then when he says, well, how did you get pregnant? And then there's this quick little line where he says... Don't look at me.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that line. Like, that is such a ball-busting brother kind of line.
Yeah.
Like, that just builds those characters so strongly.
Yep.
It's
you
true.
know, I just loved it. And even watching it again, it's like, man, he just crushes that line. And it's just a moment. And then he moves on.
He laughs, too.
You know,
he makes
laughs,
him laugh.
And
yeah.
it's just great. And then, once Zammis arrives, what I love, and again, I saw it differently as a child than I do now, and now it hit me a little harder as an adult and as a parent. The innocence of a child they nailed in this film.
Yeah.
With him, where he's questioning, he's just so curious, the curiosity that he has, all the questions that he's asking, how he has self-doubt, how like he sees that his uncle, the only being he knows at the time, looks so different from him. His hands are different. Like, that stuck with me as a kid, but now seeing it as an adult, it's heartbreaking when you have a child of your own and you see another child asking those kind of questions because you can associate it with them having that self-doubt and not understanding, why don't I look like you, and why are my hands different? And not understanding why the people at the mine who are human like you, why won't they accept you? I loved that dynamic, and seeing it again now as an adult just had so much more impact. And also, and this reminded me directly of my daughter, when I introduce her to new things, new games, she always says, as cheeseball as the game may be at the time, we're just playing some silly game around the house. She'll always look at me and be like, Daddy, I love this game. Like, when she's excited, she's having like a happy wave and she's like feeling excited about the game we're playing. And she says, I love this game. And he says this in this film after playing football. He's like, I love this game.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh my God, got me. It's just like, man, they just nailed it with this character development. And again, this film, it's, an hour and 45 minutes or so.
Roughly.
Give or take. But it just nails it, man. And not only that, the Dennis Quaid is the only constant throughout. We only get maybe 2/3 Louis Gossett Jr., 1/3 Zammis, and it's like we still get that development in that short amount of time, and I just freaking love it, man. So anyway, that's one of my points, or two of my points actually. The tentacle creature, I know we talked about him, but the one in their home ended up being a blessing in disguise. Because even though it damn near ripped his leg off, once they got out, their whole place just got crushed with those
the trees,
those rock tree things, whatever they were.
And they found a better dwelling.
Yeah, they did.
But also, I'm wondering if that creature coming up below them, since it burrows, I wonder if that's the reason why those trees fell too. It might have been loosening the soil around.
Yeah.
So it might have been. I just saw that. It might have been 6-1.
No,
together,
you're right.
yeah.
All right, so I fucking take it back, Justin.
No, but it's still good. I'm glad you've seen the area ways. No, it did take them to higher ground and a better living condition for them to live in, because it was like a whole cave system instead of just being a one little hut.
Mm-hmm.
2 more points, and then we can get on to Justin. You have something to tie this back into Robot Jocks here in a minute. So 2 more Pat's points.
The big reveal.
Again, this had to do with the world building that this film did, I thought successfully, was the racial slur for the Dracs. Did you pick up on that they used a couple times? They had an alien racial slur.
Did they? I don't even...
It was the Brion James character used it twice.
Did he?
The first time when he saw Zammis, he says something to the effect of, "Look at that little woggy."
Really?
Oh, I didn't catch that.
And then later on, he says it again when he's threatening to drop Zammis into the vat of molten lava. He says, "Let's drop the little woggy in the soup. What do you say? Boil his bones."
Really?
So that just told me, it's like, dude, that's brilliant world building, where not only are you building these characters and these histories, but now it's evolved enough that now there is like subtle racial slurs that they're throwing out there, but not focusing on it.
Yeah,
like it's just throwaway lines, but it still paints a picture. I love that.
Yeah, you don't have to dwell on it.
He's a real bastard in this movie.
He is a bastard, but he's so fucking perfect. Perfect.
I'm not sure, but I don't think his name was in the beginning credits. I don't think they had his name until the ending credits. Because
I think they only did the 2.
Oh,
because wasn't his name the first? Was his name the first that popped up in the ending credits? I don't think they say Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. at the end.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I think they're just in the beginning, and then when the film ends, it literally says also starring Brion James, and then it continues from there.
I didn't notice.
True. This is true.
So, and then while we're on the topic of Brion James, the last point I have is him melting in lava.
Yes.
That was pretty badass.
Yeah, and that was something I was going to bring up earlier when we were talking about the blood and stuff. Like, that was, yeah, man, PG-13.
It was pretty in your face. Yeah. And again, practical effects. Like, that looked fucking good.
Yeah, it did look really good.
So, Justin, what is your Robot Jocks connection?
So, this is what I'm to tie back to. In Robot Jocks, we were talking about how they were going to do a sequel and how Alexander, the villain in that, lives so that they were planning a sequel where they would join forces and fight aliens. And I said it didn't make sense to me because, like, he killed all his teammates. Like, he was a murderer. You know what I mean? Where in this movie, Jerry, the Drac, he has killed... at the beginning of the movie, kills his friends, kills Dennis Quaid's friends. But it's different in this one because in Robot Jocks, he was a homicidal maniac that killed people for pleasure. Like, it was after the match was done, he was like, I'm just going to squash you. Where in this one, he's a fighter pilot. You know what I mean? Basically, he's just fighting for survival. He's fighting for, And I think that's why it's more forgivable and more excusable in this, that they would join, like, have such a tight knit, because it's the nature of the game, you know what I mean? Where in Robot Jocks, it was just outside the rules of engagement.
No, that's a great point.
JJ's points.
Okay, this is my pick, so I will choose the order in which we rate. I will go first. And then Mike will go second, and then Justin will go third. How do we feel about that order, fellas?
Okay.
I'm good.
I already know what I'm giving this. I don't want to spend a lot of time. I think I've already expressed how much I enjoy this film, and this is like a staple in my movie viewing, watching for a long time. And I just have one minor little, like I said, the synth music was just my minor little complaint, but I'm more than willing to look past that. I am giving this a rock solid 8.
Nice.
That's good.
So,
that's suiting.
No more to be said at that point unless you have any questions. So otherwise, Mike?
I'm going to keep it short, too, because I already thought about my rating earlier, which is something I normally don't do. I usually just do it on the fly, like on the spot. But
I like how he says he's going to keep it short and then proceeds to tell us why he's going to keep it short.
And I remember in my junior high school, I was like, I know one day is going to come up.
You guys are making it longer.
Okay, no, continue.
Anyway, I was about to say my rating, and you rudely interrupted and made this drag on. My rating is 7.7.
Oh, nice. Why the minus 0.3?
From yours?
Yeah.
That's the number I already came up with. It's not like I heard yours and was like, well, I got to go 3 points lower.
But just in general, like when humans think of numbers, they don't think of them in decimal points. They think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I think
so. Why 7.7?
Because
what knocked those 0.3 points off?
Well, I don't think it's a perfect movie for multiple reasons, which we've already kind of touched on some of that stuff. But
my lack of understanding of the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, that's it right there. No,
that's all right. I was just kind of busting your chops.
No, I mean, I don't know. I feel weird given most of the time you won't see me give too many like solid 7, 8, 9. I usually do like a point thing.
Gives you some wiggle room.
Yeah, it's a little more.
So
precise.
You do that so you can tell yourself that ultimately you had a point.
Right.
He doesn't want to commit.
Justin, what's your rating?
No, it's good.
8.3.
Damn.
Oh wow.
Oh wait,
8.3.
we forgot. He always goes high.
Oh, that's true too. Yeah,
I always go high. I always like it, and I want you to ask me about my 0.3.
Yeah, well, why? Oh, did you take Mike's 0.3 and add it to yours?
Look at that. 7.7, 8, 8.3. Check that out.
All right. Yeah, all right. So what's that give us?
I do feel like I don't really like the ratings, and it was kind of a joke for me. I just throw a number out, but I am actually kind of dialing it in, and I don't know. 8.3 might be a bit high, which I kind of it's a good throwback episode. It's about nostalgia, so I'm going to go back to just throwing a number out there that's higher than everyone else's. I know. I really liked it, though.
No, I really enjoy this film.
We have an average of 8 between the three of us.
Yeah, I was trying to save you some math.
That's high. That's a high number.
So what was it? 7.7,
8, and then 8.3.
Cool. All right. So Mike, you said so again, I gave you the rundown earlier that what a MacGuffin is and how we like to use the film as a MacGuffin to drive along our conversation. So with that said, Mike, what did you want to tell us about this film and your father?
Just one real quick thing. I mentioned earlier that we saw it. The first time I saw it, we were like in a hotel room. It was with my parents, and my dad actually was getting into it. And my dad likes to try and come up with almost like inventions, like ideas for things that would be like practical, like good ideas for humanity, I guess you could say. He has big ideas. However, when watching this film, he noticed Jerry's teeth, or the Drax teeth, how they're kind of their teeth are kind of like big and wide, and then
like one big curvy tooth.
Yes.
To quote Mitch Hedberg.
Yes. But like I actually before I kind of thought it was like solid tooth, like, but actually, if you really look at it, there's like gum between, but the gum comes down to like the bottom of the teeth, so it looks like a solid, like a solid all the way across. My dad's idea was like, why don't we do that? Why don't we fill in the gaps between teeth and make it like a solid tooth all the way across? He was explaining this to me and my mom, and just like you guys are doing right now, we started laughing hysterically. We were like, what? This is your idea? Making a unitooth, I think he called it, or something.
So how would we achieve it, though? Would it be like,
I guess you just...
Would we implant it over our teeth? Like
they
seal
laughed
them
at the
all
TV
in?
dinner too, so he shouldn't feel bad.
Dude, I don't know.
Would it be like a mouthpiece? You know how like mouthpieces for like boxers and football players?
Like you put it over your teeth to protect your teeth.
But you put it over
like
your
a
teeth.
caulk.
Yeah, you just fill it in.
I think he was talking about just like filling it in, instead of, so you wouldn't have to floss or anything. It would just be filled in. I was just like, dude, you have no idea how hard me and my mom laughed, and we still bring it up. In fact, I believe it may not have been Christmas when I just saw them, but maybe like Thanksgiving, it was brought up again.
It was brought up again?
We still, and now every couple years, one of us will bring it up, and we'll just start laughing.
Is Enemy Mine referenced when it's brought up?
Yeah, that's where he got the idea from. Yeah. And then we talk about
So, like, your family will reference the movie.
Yep. Isn't that funny?
I think in some cultures it's a rite of passage where you reach a certain age and they fill in your teeth gaps.
Caulk your teeth.
It's kind of like a bar mitzvah, but for.
Oh my god, dude! It was great. I can't express to you how many laughs I've had about this over the years.
What was his level of seriousness when he delivered
Oh,
it?
no.
Was he doing it for the yucks?
He
Or?
was dead serious. He was not joking. Like, there was no... He thought this was genuinely, like,
So,
a brilliant
let me ask
idea.
He's
you
like, you know what? I
question.
hate flossing.
Well, yeah.
Check this out.
When it comes up, like recently, Thanksgiving, when it came up, is he still defending
He still
it?
defends
Or is
it.
he... Oh, my God.
He's still like, what? It's a good idea. And he'll, like, start to explain it. We're just like, no.
You need to play that Mitch Hedberg bit for him about the one big curvy tooth.
Okay. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
have all Mitch Hedberg stuff, so, yeah, I will have to play that for him. Oh, my God.
Well, that
I mean,
was
it's crazy enough to work. I hate flossing.
true.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then if you get like, because I know certain teeth will get like, my back teeth were worse than my front teeth.
Okay.
So like, I would hate to have like, because I had to have a tooth pulled at one point because
Okay.
I got infected. So imagine if that one tooth gets infected. Now that
Well,
it's
they
all
gotta
one
take
tooth.
they gotta take the whole thing out.
You got
Yeah. My one of two chompers has just got removed.
I will say I recently replaced the caulk around my bathtub, and that was a bitch to get that old caulk off. I can't imagine doing it in somebody's mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
My
man.
poor dad.
Well,
I love my dad,
yeah.
but he...
No, look, you gotta love the spirit
Oh,
of it.
sure.
Yeah.
He's an idea man. He just doesn't. He just doesn't go with good ideas.
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't had more ridiculous ideas. So
Me too.
my
me
hat's
too.
off to him.
Yeah. I'm totally. It's just. At that moment when my dad said that, and the way he said it, like we said, he was so adamant that it was a good idea, and we're just like, what?
I actually feel like I'm peers with your dad now. That story makes me, we've evolved from,
Yeah.
we're on peer level.
But anyway,
Kindred spirits.
that was my little tale.
That is awesome.
With that said, speaking of all this caulk, let's seal this episode up.
Oh, look at that.
I am always glad to get together with you guys and talk about movies, and I'm so thrilled that we are keeping this train rolling, and it's been so fun, and I hope everybody who's listening is having as much fun as we are, and I love you guys, and I hope everybody has a great 2021, a better 2021 than we had 2020. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed, man. Whew.
I mean, it could get worse. Keep that in mind. I
Should've
hope
just-
everyone has a
God.
good one, but it
No.
can get worse.
Yeah, let's not think about
Yeah.
that. Let's just focus on the positive, be together, laugh, watch movies, and just have fun and be adventurous and explore. And
But
what do you say
but
all the time, Justin?
But explore within your own home.
Explore within your
at a
own
safe
home, but
social
just
distance.
rediscovery.
Oh, yeah,
discovering
discover
new
things.
things.
Oh,
and-
sure.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. But anyway, I love it, and I love you guys, and I love that we're doing this, and I hope everybody's having fun. And please continue to be a member of the Guild and follow us on our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Discord. Check them all out.
Yeah. On
Stay in
Discord, you
touch.
can find my list of top 10 ways that 2021 could get worse. So make sure you follow that.
Oy.
Do you have that on there?
No, I'm not. I don't like talking about downer stuff. I'm just joking. It's going to get
Now,
better.
people are going to be hunting around for
Yeah.
that.
No,
Well,
hang in
hey,
there,
you know what?
baby.
It'll draw them to our Discord, and they'll look around. So you know what?
Well, look, Justin hasn't even been able to draw me to the Discord,
Nor
so...
me.
Yeah. We're on it right now.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, but we're not like in the chat.
I'm looking at 2/3 of us on there right now.
Yeah.
So with that said, thank you guys so much for being a part of another episode here. And Justin, Mike, always a pleasure.
yes,
Yeah.
sir.
And we'll do it again next week.
Absolutely.
All right. I will see you then. Thank you, everybody.
Later, Wogs.
We'll see you next time.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
See you guys.
I raised you better than this.
We're going to make a science fiction 80s movie.
Was that a turkey?